This week has actually been pretty interesting as far as news goes. Between the reveal of the speculated specs of the NX to Captain America apparently needing a boyfriend for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we might as well get into the Cap stuff, because why not? It's trendy and it's what people want to hear us talk about, and it's actually something I want to talk about. Because, well, first of all, once again, I have no idea where this campaign started. I remember, who did the video on this, but could have been Tildy or could have been someone else. I don't remember. But anyways, point is, there was an article posted on Vanity Fair by a female writer who was disappointed with Marvel's Civil War, the movie version that is, and not the comic book event, because at the end of the movie, basically, Cap and Bucky did not end up banging each other up the ass, as she was hoping they would be.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll have to do some additional investigation, but somehow I get the impression that this article may have gotten the ball rolling, could have been the catalyst to all of this, because otherwise, and what's fascinating about all of this is that, like with everything else, like with the Batgirl thing and all of these controversies surrounding comic book characters, it just comes completely out of nowhere. Like one day, a bunch of tambourines decided that, oh, well, let's take this iconic character who has been around for, almost 80 years at this point, and let's switch an integral part of him because, well, we feel that he should be gay, and that would symbolize progress and whatnot. And I'll go ahead and post the link to one of the articles talking about this in the YouTube comment section so that people can follow along with us. But the problem I have with this, not even the controversy itself, but the way it's being covered, is, first of all, most news outlets report it as something that the fans want. Like, oh, Captain America fans demand that Captain America be gay. It's like, no.
Only a very, very small minority actually care, actually want that. And you know what? Again, I kind of been talking about this in the CCS forums. I've seen some backlash from some people in that particular persuasion, the LGBT persuasion, saying that this is actually a really, really bad idea. And from just a story standpoint, and I guess even if like you were in a group like that, would it be so condescending? Let's say the way I kind of explained it is, or at least the way I kind of think of it, and people can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a character who is originally written to be gay, right? Let's just say, it's a new character. We'll call him, I can't even think of anything right at the moment. Well, he's a super
North Star. He's a mutant in the Marvels.
Yeah, sure. So let's say you have a character like North Star, right? And they have their own character arc, and you follow it, and the stuff that they go through as an out and proud superhero. You kind of relate some of it, kind of like Peter Parker kind of rings true to a lot of geeks, And yeah. you follow along with this, and you relate to it, and it's empowering, and because the superhero goes through some of the same shit that you go through and still rises to the top, and it's like, wow, this is such a great character. And then Marvel or DC comes out and says, hey, we're going to make a movie about a gay superhero, and it's like, oh boy, I really hope that it's going to be North Star, because I really like North Star. I really like his storyline. I really like him as a character. I've bonded with him as a character. And they come out, and it's just basically a reskinning of like Captain America or Batman or Spider-Man or Superman or whatever else. Isn't that condescending as all hell?
It is.
Why shouldn't they bring these characters who exist, who have storylines, more to the front, into the spotlight? At least give them an equal share, instead of saying, oh well, these characters can't stand on their own. We need to reskin an existing character that has a lot of public recognition.
Presence.
Yeah, public presence.
Well, see, the thing is, in one of the articles, which I will post later in the YouTube chat, but it kind of encapsulates some of the tweets from the people who are campaigning for Captain America to be gay, and one of them that stuck in my mind was written by a woman who I presume is straight, by the way, but because she probably has a fanfiction.net account where she writes tons of, Captain America x Bucky / fiction and whatnot. She is for Captain America being gay, and basically her argument was something along the lines of, I think it's a good idea for Captain America to be gay because gay people need representation in the media too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, agreed. But why should it be an already existing character who's not gay? Or why should he be turned gay? Because it is, as you said, it's condescending. Because you could say the same thing about characters who are, say, minorities. For example, black kids, for example, need a superhero of their own to look up to.
Right.
Okay,
They need a black Superman instead of Black Panther.
Or a Luke Cage, for example, right?
Exactly. There's plenty of great black characters in the two universes, and they need to bring those more to the front instead of just saying, "Oh, well, we got to take someone who's already famous and just do like literally a color swap, a color palette swap."
Yeah. So again, like for example, Black Panther was introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the latest movie, Civil War. Yep. And from here on out, he's going to have his own solo movie or maybe even movies.
And it's a great character. It's a great standalone character, too.
Yeah, and a great performance by, I forget the actor's name, but still, nevertheless, the character is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. So
I'd say Black Panther was better than fucking Spider-Man in Civil War. So.
Well, yeah, this is kind of a tangent, but personally, I was pleased that Black Panther actually had a reason to be in the movie, which Spider-Man technically did not.
Exactly.
If we are to be honest, I was kind of concerned that once Marvel secured the rights to Spider-Man, then because I had read somewhere that Black Panther, the reason why Black Panther was in the movie was because in the original storyline, it was Spider-Man who was kind of like in between the two worlds, between Captain America and Iron Man. But Marvel, because they didn't have the rights, they decided to go with Black Panther, but then they got the rights. So I was kind of concerned that Black Panther was not going to have anything to do in the movie. But actually, he has a very sound motivation to be in the movie, to be involved in this conflict. And he actually has an interesting arc at the very end. Once he follows Captain America and Bucky and Iron Man to Siberia, and he confronts, what's-his-face, Zemo, I think. So he actually had a very strong presence in the movie, whereas Spider-Man was just there as sort of like a gift to the fans. Like, yeah, we finally got the rights back to him.
Well, so still, the Spider-Man stuff, like Phantom of the Night points out, the Spider-Man stuff was the best stuff in Civil War.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And
that's one point where Robert Downey Jr. was actually acting like Robert Downey Jr. I mean, it was like watching the old Iron Man movies again instead of like all this sour, dour bullshit. So I mean, it was great. Aunt May was fucking was a fucking supermodel and actually like young and hot looking instead of some old lady, instead Grandma May. And the back and forth dialogue was just hilarious. But the entire segment just seemed so out of place. I mean,
well, it's because they got the rights to it like a year or two before the production began, so they had to shoehorn him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe somehow.
Yeah, so, and I mean, it's just fun watching Spider-Man. Spider-Man does a little bit of the Deadpool wisecracking when he's fighting, and
Oh yeah, it's easily the best.
Spider-Man's holding up this fucking giant piece of debris, and Captain America standing there. He's like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Oh, the Queens," and he's like, "Oh, the Bronx." And they just kind of like nod at each other while he's holding up this gigantic fucking piece of metal. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is the funnest, most entertaining part of the entire movie, but it still feels so out of place because again, you have this dark and dour spy thriller thing. Oh my God, Bucky killed my parents. I'm going to kill him, Captain America. And it just finally gets to the point where Spider-Man is all like, oh yeah, alleviation, funny. Although I do want to see Spider-Man and Ant-Man do kind of like a duo. That would be kind of funny just because those are the funniest two characters in the entire movie. Anyways, but then it goes right back to dour and sour. I mean, it just keeps on going dark and dark and dark. And
yeah, well, you could say the same thing about all the other Avengers characters in the movie. Because did the Scarlet Witch really need to be in that story? Did Vision have to be there? Because that's kind of the problem I had with the marketing of Civil War, where they did try to base it on the conflict in the comics, where characters actually had a reason to align with this or that team because of their own feelings on the issue that it was going on. Whereas in the movie version, as Rich Evans points out in their review of Captain America Civil War on Red Letter Media, Half in the Bag show, Iron Man's side actually makes sense. Whereas with Captain America, it's not like he even took a side. Like, he does provide reasons why he doesn't want the government or the United Nations to oversee what the Avengers do. But then afterwards, he's not even involved with this particular conflict. Instead, he's just trying to help his friend out. That's about it. And like, there's no real reason for people to side with him because he doesn't lead any sort of resistance against the Superhuman Registration Act like he does in the comics. Instead, he's just trying to save Bucky, and then various characters like Black Widow just follow him because they're friends. And oh, by the way, speaking of useless characters, zero fucking reason for Hawkeye to be in the movie, by the way.
Well, they just had to bring everyone back from the Avengers. Anyways,
well, not everyone. Thor and Hulk were not there.
Oh, yeah, but they're off doing their Ragnarok stuff. So,
yeah, I suppose.
But
going back to the fact shenanigans concerning Captain America and Bucky.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm quoting Jay here because he's the one who said it. So, but actually, wouldn't it also cheapen the story somewhat if, because initially, by the way, one thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but like in the previous live streams, we talked about how cringeworthy the whole, Bucky's my friend. And then Iron Man's response is, but Cap, so was I. They actually used a very different take in the movie version of that scene as opposed to the one in the trailer, because I went back and rewatched, and the one in the trailer is very melodramatic. It's very cheesy, like Robert Downey Jr. is pretty much on the verge of tears. Whereas in the movie, once the two of them begin fighting, his response is much more caustic. Like, he almost throws the line back at Captain America, saying, kind of accusing him of hypocrisy. He's like, Bucky's my friend. It's like, yeah, so was I.
Betrayal.
Yeah.
I was your friend too, and you're throwing me under the bus. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but, like, the relationship, I guess, with Captain America and Bucky in the movie was much less melodramatic than I thought it was going to be. I was thinking they would go for, like, a, supernatural type of bromance thing where it's very melodramatic and emotional music is playing, and Bucky, you're my best friend. And it's like, oh, Cap, all the times we've gone through, but instead, no, they even
Iron Man needs a boyfriend.
Why?
It's just a joke. The little bit of sentimentality means that they're automatically a homosexual couple. I mean,
oh yeah, this is actually something I was going to bring up. The fact that how it's interesting how they talk about all this stuff like the Bechdel test and the misrepresentation of female characters in fiction, but when it comes to male characters, well, you do have something that Mr. Punkin has referred to as the case of the nut gaze, where if you have two male characters on screen, one of them better bring up the subject of tits or pussies or asses like 15 seconds into the conversation, because otherwise it's going to be assumed that the two of them are engaged in sodomy. But in this case, you have like a camaraderie between Captain America and Bucky, who both have gone through World War II, like they're war veterans. They've seen some shit. They fought Nazis together.
They're friends. I mean, it's like a double standard. They always talk about like, oh, men need to be less aggressive and be more open up to
more emotional, sentimental.
And then the minute you show any type of sentiment to another, one guy shows some sentiment to another guy, just like in the case of LaughingMan and CineMax, there's automatically some like assumptions that there's like some type of like homosexual tension, and it's like, no, friends. I mean, come on, you don't have to be talking football and shooting shit and talking about dicks and pussies the entire fucking time to be a male character. I mean, you're kind of putting guys in a box here.
Yeah,
and not the right type of box either.
Boy, but
I mean, yeah, just look at Supernatural. Two fucking brothers, two brothers on the show, and they had like the biggest fucking incest fangirl community out there. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing if you think. You can say the same thing about Thor, by the way, because especially the movies, because Thor, unlike other Marvel properties, has a predominantly female audience. Because as far as I know, not a lot of guys are into Thor as a character.
My neighbor's wife has a thing for Thor because he has a long
Because Chris
golden hair,
Hemsworth,
and
yes.
Chris Hemsworth, yeah, he has a long golden hair and the big mustache and beard, and he's got the abs and the big old chest, and he's got his mighty hammer.
Yeah, let's just say it's not his acting that attracts all the fangirls.
Exactly, and yet Chris Hemsworth is topless in almost every single Thor movie, but then the minute you show a shot of Black Widow's ass, oh my god, misogyny.
We didn't even get that, by the way, in any of the movies. Meanwhile, as I said in X-Men Days of Future Past, Hugh Jackman completely fucking naked. Mind you, we only see his ass and his junk, but still, not a single complaint from the feminists, by the way. Of course not, because they were fucking finger blasting themselves in the movie theater when they saw that.
That and Twilight. But yeah, 16-year-old boy. Oh my god! And it's like, wait a minute, call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
All these 40-year-old housewives finger blasting themselves to a 15/16-year-old boy, and that's not creepy at all. What's really funny is, just to kind of get off on a tangent here, is I was watching some stuff on behind the scenes for the fourth Uncharted movie or fourth Uncharted video game. It looks like a movie, but still, it plays.
I was going to say, you got it right the first time.
It plays like a movie. But I was watching some stuff on Uncharted 4, and I read an article where the developers were doing play testing for Uncharted 4, and of course this is Polygon reporting this shit. Or no, it's Kotaku. Sorry, Kotaku. You know what to expect. So, anyways,
into a feather.
At the end, they have a strong female black character. And one guy just like flips his shit in the middle, right? And he's like, "Jesus, you guys too? You guys are trying to shoehorn all these, they gotta be strong and independent stuff, instead of like genuinely good female characters that Uncharted has had in the past, namely Elena, whatever her name is, the Drake's girlfriend. She's actually really 3D, really a great representation of like a natural woman, well written, that kind of thing." And all of a sudden here's this strong female character who's even a bit more, the tough kind. I'm gonna go and hang with the boys and be able to beat the bad guys.
Yeah, somehow she's got more testosterone than Drake.
Right, exactly. And so this guy is a playtester, and he flips the shit out, right? And he's like, "You guys too, Jesus Christ!" And so they had to escort him out of the studio because he was having a shit fit, right? And of course, throughout the entire article, he's referred to as the MRA. And then so the developers of Uncharted are like, "Well, we always like to take a look at all the characters and be like, would this character be better as a woman? And if the character could be better as a woman, we'll make him a woman." Okay, now here's the thing: how many of the countless men who get shot and killed in that game were ever looked at and being like, "Oh well, maybe that one character with a shotgun who's trying to kill you, maybe that'd be better as a woman, and you can kill her."
Mm-hmm.
There's a character, right, in the second game where that same Elena chick, I can't remember her name exactly, but she has a cameraman, because she's doing like documentary filmmaking. She has a cameraman with her, and the cameraman gets shot in cold blood, just like Jimmy Olsen did in Superman.
I was just gonna make the joke.
This male character gets shot in cold blood, like execution style, right? By the antagonist, who is male, right? Did they ever look at that character who got shot and killed and say, it worked better as a woman?
No,
I was so tempted. I was so fucking tempted to take my avatar and make a solo wasted effort episode about this, where it'd just be me looking at the camera and saying, "Oh, well, okay, let's see how many other characters would be great as women," and just show all the fucking men that you shoot during the course of the game, all the bad guys who die, all the good guys who die, all the neutral guys who die. There's only one woman, and that's the villainess of the third game, who is a woman who dies in the entire game, who has any type of violence inflicted upon her. Whereas guys, torture them, time chairs, beat them, blow their heads off, throw them down wells. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, it's, it is what it is, because the thing is, what I was going to say with that reporter guy, I don't know what his name is, but basically Jimmy Olsen #2, if they wanted that scene to be like an emotional scene, right, where the death of this character would have some sort of impact, not only on the story and the characters, but also on the player, chances are that's when they would have made it the character female, because all of a sudden, because I know if I use this term, all of a sudden we're going to be labeled as to be as bad as the feminist, but because of gynocentrism, all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, she was killed, so therefore this is horrible, this is terrible. But it's the same hypocrisy as Anita has displayed in her videos, where she shows, like, in that was it Hitman? I think it was one of the Hitman games, right? Where there's one area where you can pass by two, I think they were strippers, right?
Yeah, it's Hitman Absolution, I believe.
Okay, so, and you can kill them and you can drag their bodies, and Anita makes a point about how this is just morally reprehensible, how this is going to turn players, but she's only talking about male players, not female ones, but still, she's going to turn male gamers into raging misogynists and basically future Elliot Rodgers, right? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, completely oblivious of the fact that you can do the same thing to every single character in the game, and as a matter of fact, you do that to 98% and to all the enemies, 98% of whom, or maybe even 100, I don't know, happen to be male.
Yep,
like that gets excised from the video.
Well, it's those two stripper ladies are only bystanders. You're not supposed to touch them. Those aren't your objective. I mean, you can if you want to. It's just like Grand Theft Auto, right? You can go around, you can kill anybody you want to, you can run them over, you can beat them to death, you can steal their money. And she was selectively, this has gone to people should have done videos of this about this fucking thousand times.
Yeah, I know.
Let's just get off the fucking subject. The more time we spend talking about user keys and a bunch of the rest of these assholes, the more power they have. Period.
Yeah,
I'm honestly so fucking sick and tired of talking about all the feminist shit because you just give them more attention than they deserve.
Yeah, plus
you should point your finger and say that's bullshit and here's why, but we're kind of drudging up old information. So,
I don't expect them to change their opinions, mind you, but to bring it back to Captain America, for example, like this is how it started. Yeah. Again, I don't think they should change it, and I don't think they will change because the character. But here's the thing: if you do want to change, for example, a character's race, like we need a black Captain America. Okay, we have one now. It's the Falcon, and I have nothing against the Falcon being Captain. Even though it's kind of confusing that we have two Captain Americas now, but I have nothing against the Falcon taking up the mantle because he's been Captain America's partner, not even a sidekick, but like an equal partner for years in the comic book. So once Captain America got taken out of the fray, he aged, like he became old, so he was no longer able to fight. It made logical sense for for Falcon to inherit the Captain America mantle. Right. The same way it made sense for, say, Dick Grayson to inherit the cape and cowl of Batman once Bruce Wayne was temporarily quote unquote killed, even though that's not what happened because comic book logic, but whatever, who cares? And actually another good example, for example, if we're talking about race and gender bending and whatnot, is Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man, because, for example, he was recently transported from the Ultimate Universe to the main Marvel Universe because, again, comic book bullshit, but whatever. And I think there have been news that Sony is planning on developing an animated Spider-Man movie that's going to star Miles Morales as opposed to Peter Parker, which I have nothing against, because I would be much more incensed if what they did was, because they tried doing this when they were developing the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I take it back. When news came that Marvel got the rights back for Peter Parker Spider-Man, right? There was a campaign by the SJWs to have a black actor play Spider-Man. Peter Parker, not Miles Morales, Peter Parker, which I think is bullshit because Peter Parker is, like I said, he has been an icon, a role model for geeks everywhere since the 60s, right? Whereas Miles Morales is a completely different character. He's also into science, as far as I know. I haven't read too much on the character, but if you're going to have a black Spider-Man, have it be someone else, because as far as I know, Miles Morales, like he was in the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker dies, so that's kind of what inspires him to rise up to the challenge and pick up the mantle, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So,
Max, we got to bring people in. You're getting on your soapbox. We got to bring people in and talk. They can talk about this with us, though, but...
Well, they can sit and listen quietly while we talk, because...
This is what you guys pay for, right?
That they pay to
bask in their glory. They don't pay to talk and converse. And
all right, let me bring in the heathens. Okay,
there we go. It was mentioned by Fan of the Night that like people like Ray in the new Star Wars movie kind of got off scot-free, right? Because I mean, was she ever actually in any peril? I mean, she beat the shit out of the guys who were attacking her in the market on the desert planet. She escaped single-handedly from the people on fucking New Death Star. She could use the Force like a motherfucker. Was she ever hurt? I mean,
nah, I don't think so.
It's just like the fucking Queen of Dragons and goddamn Game of Thrones.
I was actually going to bring
nothing
that up.
Ever fucking bad. Besides the first season, nothing bad happens to her. Everyone else has people betraying them. You know,
everyone else gets tortured,
have
killed in the case of Ned Stark.
Exactly, and have limbs cut off in the case of like Varys and Theon Greyjoy.
Yeah, as well as Jaime Lannister.
Yep. But never mind, you know, the Queen of Dragons is the perfect little... And
to be fair, the female characters also suffer. Sansa gets raped by, not Joffrey, what's his face, Ramsay Snow.
Yeah.
And she's basically been suffering from the end of season 1 up to season 5, and even when she gets to the House of Black and White and the city of Bravos.
No, that's a different one. That's Arya Stark.
Well, yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
Oh, so you're talking about Sansa getting raped, and then did you?
Oh, yeah, and also her sister. Okay. She's been on the run all this time, and even though once she reaches what's his face, Jaqen H'ghar, something like that, I forget his name.
She's getting the shit kicked out of her by the other girl.
Yeah, and then because she kills one of the guards who was responsible for the death of her father, she has her sight stripped away, and she's blind for the first couple episodes. So a very brutal world. Westeros, this world of Game of Thrones. But then you have the city of Meereen, you have the storyline involving Daenerys, or Dany, as the fucking Tabarenas call her, and nothing bad ever happens to her.
It seems like not. Even though she starts losing her city, and they attack.
Because she's an incompetent leader.
Yeah, but every single time she's like in peril, magic or dragon.
Either her friends show up to save her, or the dragons, or this bullshit Deus Ex Machina, I am immune to fire thing, which is enough to bring the entire Dothraki race to their knees and worship her as a goddess.
Yeah.
So now she's got the Unsullied who are loyal to her because, well, you could say that she liberated them, so whatever.
Yeah,
fair enough. But now also the Dothraki are going to follow her because why?
She's a god.
Like, the Dothraki are clearly based on the Mongolians, and I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on the Mongolian race and their culture, but it was always the survival of the fittest, the biggest, baddest motherfucker rules. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the Khals and the Dothraki, so technically you could say that, oh, well, she's the strongest one because she killed them, but technically if it were not for her friends who barricaded the door, if the other Khals were to escape, and come back, for example, with weapons, I don't think she's impervious to stab wounds. So, if Jorah and what's the other guy's name were not there to help her, chances are we would have gotten, as one of the Khal says, first we're gonna have our fun with you, and then the soldiers, and if you're still alive, our horses.
Yeah,
but
let's actually get to somebody else for a bit because we're traveling on for ages, and we need to get through these people. Otherwise, we're going to be here for another fucking hour.
All right.
There she is. All right, regale us with your tales of feminist porn classes and whatever else.
Well, I actually kind of wanted to talk about the last After Hours, well, the recent one you did, because this is kind of an issue in the indie community about what is, considered an actual game versus, experiences and whatnot.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's just kind of like, and, it's kind of related to Gamergate too, is that I think there is actual people in the community who actually want to make games, but then there's like this social clique that's worried about the message and, promoting themselves and getting rich off of it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's one of the things that I kind of learned over this past years of being part of the local community is that it shouldn't be something you focus on. You should be worried about the integrity of the gameplay and stuff. I mean, you can have, like, the nicest story and the art you want, but, the gameplay is important.
Yeah, well, it's of course some games have less gameplay than others, so I would say it's the quality of the final product. Let's put it that way, that should matter, and the fact that people enjoy it. Whereas if these auteurs, let's call them that, if they believe that their ego is a bit more important, or that the message that they want to tell, like that's what matters most, and if people cannot appreciate their masterpiece for it, then obviously everyone's a rube. They're not as sophisticated as the creator. So, as we said in the most recent After Hours, the Walking Simulators one, that's like the biggest problem that I have with some of these works of art. Because are they works of art? Yes, but if you're gonna make something without even giving a thought about the enjoyment, well, the players, the gamers, the consumers enjoying your product, then basically what your work is nothing but masturbation.
Exactly, and you guys really hit like all the nails on the head when it comes to this because
Of course, as we always do.
yeah, but it's like oh shit, I forgot my point. Like I kind of watched like Game Loading Rise of the Indies, which was kind of panned because they kind of focused on people like Zoe Quinn and people who didn't really make games, and they kind of just focused on a message like where's the fun. And then another funny thing is that you mentioned Gone Home and stuff. Like when Firewatch was released, the creator actually gave a speech at Columbia University trying to prove why his game is indeed a game and should be considered as such.
Huh, okay, and do you by any chance know what were the points that he brought up, the arguments that he made?
Not exactly. It was kind of like a while back, but I just remember just kind of being, confused. Like he kind of brought up like, it's interactive and stuff. It's like, yeah, it kind of is. But then again, I'm kind of wondering, like, do these people really know what goes into game design? I mean, it's a lot of shit. I mean, and then I was thinking,
game theory for one. I mean, you have to understand cause and effect in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just kind of thinking, like, these people that kind of are like these hipster indies, like they're trying to, prove something, and then they kind of get mad, like Sunset wasn't even a game, and they try to promote it like it was some progressive thing because you play as a black woman. But you just it's end up like a cleaning simulator, and you can't even like interact with it. Just like you just
you're playing as a black woman, and it's a cleaning simulator.
I mean, they literally made the Help the game. That's all it is.
I mean, if that was if that was a Hispanic woman and it was like a maid simulator, wouldn't that be highly offensive?
I know, but it was funny. The most ironic thing was that it was actually, created by a black woman. But that's all she could do was like this progressive thing, and it's just like they're pretentious. It just fucking knocked them out, flat on their ass, and then they fucking want to go to Tumblr or Twitter and just yell at the consumers for not like getting the message of it. I'm like,
yeah, well, that's the short narcissism crap that we've been talking about. I mean, so people are so fucking narcissistic that if you release something and people don't like it, it's their fault.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, sure, people might have different like tastes and stuff though, but if it's an overwhelming dislike, like Bear Simulator, then the guy's like, oh, PewDiePie doesn't like it, fuck you guys, I'm done. Phil Fish, oh, you guys don't understand my genius, then fuck off. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's like like a year or so ago, like Edward McMullen, like the guy who worked on Super Meat Boy. That's why he doesn't really associate with like the indie scene per se, because it's just like in his view, it's just full of these pretentious idiots that don't really know what they're doing. And it's just unfortunate. Like the freaking Sunset actually was like the premise was like not bad, but me, like if I did it, I would have like made it like an espionage because she has to clean the house of a South American dictator. I'm like I would be like covert and shit and collecting like information, and then like at night she has to like leave, and that'll be kind of like a point to kind of give the information to the resistance. But she doesn't really take part of that. She's just like on the sideline while the fighting is going on.
Yeah, you try to make it something more. Now, a question to both of you. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do is I completely forgot about this quote-unquote game when we were recording the walking simulators after hours, but here's what this is
on,
a
on the big black screen. I see nothing in there, Max.
really?
Yeah.
What about now?
It's blank.
Yeah, it's blank.
Ah, I see a lion. Oh, that's her.
Interesting. Let me try this one more time. Now, if it didn't make so much fucking noise, open volume mixer. Okay, there we go, much better. Anyways, let me try this one more time. Basic, hopefully it works. But basically, what this is, it's a Flash game. I first learned about it from Extra Credits when they talked about it. Let me see. What about now?
A blank. If it's a Flash game, you're probably not gonna be able to see it because Flash games, the way they overlay inside a browser is kind of fucked up.
Okay. Well, I can share the link with both of you. It's a very short game, and I guess if you play, and I use the word loosely through it, you'll understand my point. But so what this is, it's a game that Extra Credits talked about a while ago when I was still watching them, and the main guy, what's his face, Daniel Floyd, talked about like how it's the most captivating emotional experience that you'll ever have in any kind of game. And what this is are the two of you, quote unquote, playing it now?
No, I don't have Flash on this computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laughing Man, what about you?
Nope.
But
Click on it. I'm getting it. Just give me a second here.
okay.
Firefox, allow Flash. Jesus Christ.
I don't want to bring this entire conversation to a halt, mind you, but I'm kind of trying to prove a point here. So,
Yeah, I mean,
Matt, walk us through what's going on. Describe what's happening on the screen.
What the fuck? The Little Dipper and there's a star out in the middle of nowhere. Is this like one of those fucking like jump scare games or something? Because this is bullshit.
No. Keep playing.
I can't do anything. There's nothing there. It's a big white screen. Black dots.
Press up. You can move. Use the arrow keys.
Oh, so you move around and all the rest of the things are like, oh.
Okay, so there's a white background. There's a square, which you control, and there are other shapes on the screen. And when you move, the only thing you can do in the game is you can move up, and you can also move left and right, of course. And if you try to approach the other shapes, what happens is they scatter, they run away from you. And as you're moving up the screen, all of a sudden the white background slowly transitions into a gray one, and then a black one, and then I'm going to wait for Matt to finish because...
No, fuck that, I'm not playing the rest of that game.
yeah,
But-
so...
For fuck's sake.
So I thought it was interesting that Katie mentioned LSD Dream Emulator, and working on this horror game, one of my influences kind of is Osamu Satu, who was like the producer of it, and he's just like an artist. He does like photography, among other things, and music, and he actually composed like all the music for the game. And he is kind of like, I guess, the grandfather of walking simulators. I mean, it is kind of interesting because there is like a character you encounter that is actually detrimental if you kind of link with him in the dream, because he will actually keep you from having flashbacks. So you can't basically re-explore the dream, but with different patterns, I guess. Which is what some people are saying. And then, but he actually has made point-and-click adventure games. Like there's one called The Eastern Mind of Tong No, and I mean, Eastern Mind Lost Souls of Tong No is basically about you play as this guy who lost his soul, and it kind of gets taken, spirited away to this island, and you have to go through this weird surreal, world with these different gods and stuff based off of, it's kind of like everything's kind of based around, Japanese mythology, and their, views on reincarnation and stuff.
Can't be any worse than Seaman on the fucking Dreamcast.
I mean, it's weird, but it's actually pretty charming. I mean, it was kind of done, I think the sequel and that game was done in 1994 and 1995, but he ends up making a game about self-discovery without being overly pretentious or trying to push it. It's just how he is, So,
Alright, so I have almost reached the top of the screen in this game. The background is almost entirely black now, and this is almost the ending, so bear with me because there's no jump scare at the end, but there is a message, and you'll see what it is in a second. The screen is almost entirely black now. Come on, show me your pretentious message, come on. Any moment now, sweetheart, any moment. Alright. Children and adolescents in Korea are the least satisfied with their lives among 26 member countries of the OECD. Many report alone.
The what?
I taught those kids for a year. This not game, at least he's honest about it, was made for them and for anyone who has ever felt lonely.
wow.
So I'm going to take a screen cap of this real quick, and then I'm going to post it on YouTube once it's done. But yeah, so this is what these walking simulators kind of remind me of. This little flesh nut game, as the guy refers to it, but at least he's honest. It is what it is. But this is what I think of when I see most of these walking simulators. Like, there's an experience, you kind of go through it, you're like, okay, what is this? What is this supposed to represent? And then at the end, there's a message like, oh, see, this was all about loneliness and high suicide rates in Korea, and you're supposed to feel so distraught or demoralized or depressed, which is what I felt after playing this game. It's like, okay, this is what it is. Okay. No, actually, I didn't even feel depressed. Like, extra credits talked about it, how this is such an emotional experience, and it leaves you so devastated inside, and you're left thinking about this stuff. It's like, not really, because you don't do much in this game. It's like, okay, we get it. The square represents you, and the other squares who run away, they're the other people of society rejecting you, so you're lonely, and then you move towards the darkness, it's suicide. Okay, we get it. Okay, doesn't mean this is fun to play.
I know, it kind of sounds like that Rise of Indies documentary where they focus on, like, oh, these poor women have to make it into this boys club and stuff. So this chick was making a, visual novel, but it was supposed to be this exploration about, I guess, sexism in Korean society, like back when they had dynasties and shit. And then she kind of describes her reasoning, well, visual novels are like the most sexist game genre. I'm like, don't you know they actually make, visual novels for young girls and women nowadays?
Yeah, if you see them on Steam, I mean, shit, they got people for bird nuts like Katie.
Yeah.
Have to full boyfriend.
I know, and it's like,
Well, the true reason why she made it a visual novel is because it's much easier to program than a real game.
Cough, cough, wheeze, wheeze us.
I know, I thought that was ironic that she said sexist, and I said, well...
What's up with easiness to program? It doesn't really require any skill to make.
Well, to be fair, we never claimed that we're making the next Doom game, so, we're not pretending that the game is some high art or something.
Exactly! This is the lowest of the low. Self-deprecatory comment on sexism in games.
And that's how it should be.
Pussy Crusher, on the other hand, now there's a video game for you.
Oh, yeah.
Fun for the whole family, especially for grandma.
I was reading on the legal side of game development, and for a time, King Games, who created the Candy Crush saga, was actually going after, smaller studios who they would assume didn't have legal representation, and they're trying to get it, trademarks on the words Candy Crush and Saga separately. Like, nobody can have this in their game title.
That's okay. It doesn't make much sense, but.
So basically, if you don't get like the pretentious people, you kind of get people who just want, to make games just to make money, just solely money. And that's like one of the first speakers we had at like one of our events. He said, you know what? If you're just in it just to make money, please leave, because you're not really going to find what you're looking for. And if it's a soulless crash grab, people are going to see it a mile away.
Yeah, just look at Polygon playing Doom. Did you guys hear about that?
Nope.
Oh,
Tell me.
Some dickhead on Polygon game review website was playing like the first couple hours of Doom, and he recorded it and he posted it up on the site. And this might have been the same guy reviewing the game, but the guy couldn't shoot for shit. it literally looks like the person's very first time ever playing an FPS game. And so a lot of the people in the game community are like, what the hell is this asshole doing? Is this guy reviewing the game? He can't play an FPS. What's he doing reviewing the game? And because, you know, obviously if you can't play the fucking game, it's going to have a negative bearing on your review. So people complained about it, and then Polygon went on this gigantic fucking tirade about, you know, we try to take a look at games as if it wasn't just for the hardcore, you know, closed-minded, closed community gamers, and they started playing the victim.
Well, of course they did. It's Polygon.
Well, yeah, I know, but still, it's just disgusting.
Yeah, and speaking of playing the victim, by the way, do you know that Katie is in the YouTube chat right now listening to us do all the work and entertain the fans?
Oh yeah, and then our stupid thing was the University of Southern California canceling their, you know, all like video game all-star panel with people from Blizzard, Riot Games, and so on and so forth, you know, to talk, you know, to the students in the I guess who were like looking for like video game development degrees, like, you know, kind of talking about their stories and stuff. They canceled the panel like 4 hours before it was going to start because there wasn't any women on the panel.
Yep, heard about that one too.
That's bullshit. It's just fucking stupid. You don't do that to people that, you know, have more gaming experience, like, you know, game development experience.
I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that the lady who was actually invited to the conference couldn't make it, but why would you cancel the conference just because one person can't make it? Right, Mel? Right, Katie? Zing!